And I've preached this for a long time. I think just so much of your life is just perspective. I mean, it really is. And a lot of times I have these crazy parties. I'll invite disabled veterans out or whatever and try and show them a good time. And this one time I had this one guy who got both his legs blown off in Afghanistan, and super cool dude, like really humble, nice guy. And there was this like super hot chick that was at the party, and I really wanted to fuck her, but I was like, I'll see if I can get her to fuck him. And I paid her a fucking ton of money, which is kind of fucked up. She ended up fucking this guy, and I was fucked up, and I ended up passing out, and I forgot about it. And the next day we're sitting there at breakfast, and I was just like, I was so fucking miserable. And I look over at this dude, and I'm just like, like, what the fuck are you so happy? He's like smiling and eating his shit, and I was like, I'm hungover. I'm like, what the fuck are you so happy about? He's like, shit, man. He's like, I feel great. I'm like, you're not hungover? He's like, yeah. He's like, I don't give a shit though. And I'm just like, dude, I gotta ask you, man. I'm like, you got the fucking best attitude. I was like, since you've been here, I was like, you've always been fucking positive. I was like, is that ever like, did you ever have moments where you're just like fucking depressed about, the fucking amputation or any of that stuff? I was like, does that fuck with you? I was like, how do you maintain such a good attitude? I was like, I think it's amazing. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, losing my leg is the best thing that ever happened to me. And I'll just never forget it, because that statement was just like so like different from what I ever expected this guy to say, right? And he followed it up with, if that never happened to me, he's like, I'd be over in fucking some sand pit in Afghanistan. I'd just be another number, and nobody'd give a shit about me. He goes, and then when I came home, he's like, I'd just be, a fucking military guy, and everybody in my town wouldn't care. And he's like, I go and I motivate people, and I give these speeches. He goes, and people look up to me, and I'm inspiring people. He's like, and I get to do cool shit. I just got a fucking brand new rifle the other week for free. He goes, the military's paying me. He goes, I'm fucking partying here with you. I fucked a super hot chick last night. And then I remembered, I was like, oh, that's good. And then it was just like funny though, because like his whole thought process about it was so great. And I could just see how another guy, if that happened to him, could easily like get into like the woe is me and the whole like, fuck this, I'm depressed and, think about it all the time. Like, how could this have gone, but this guy just like accepted it, fucking charged with it. And I was just like, he viewed it as like a huge positive. And I thought that was great. I don't know if you've ever seen, they got this YouTube thing. It's like the story of the Chinese farmer. You ever seen that?
No.
So he loses his horse, and everybody in the town comes over and they say, oh, well, that's terrible. And he's like, and they're like, oh, well, that's terrible now, isn't it? And he's like, maybe. And then the next day, 7 wild horses come back, and they all come over and they say, oh, well, that's great. And he says, well, maybe. And the next day, his kid has taken out one of the wild horses and breaks his leg, and the whole town comes over and they say, oh, well, that's terrible now, isn't it? He says, maybe. And the next day, the conscription officers come over, and they're, taking people into the military to go fight. And they pass by his son because he's got a broken leg. And the whole town comes over and they say, oh, well, that's great now, isn't it? And he says, maybe. And the point of it is that you never really know if something is bad or good, because you don't know how that's going to affect the rest of your life. Like back, when I'm 2 days before graduating SEAL training, I've done 510 days of it. I've put my fucking heart and soul into this fucking thing, and I get kicked out because some fucking guy doesn't like me. And, it's kind of hard to look at that in any way other than, oh, well, that's fucking terrible. But as I'm older and I've experienced a lot, I can look at that and be like, well, half my class died, right, in combat. So I could have fucking died. If I would have became a Navy SEAL, then that might have just been like what I hung my hat on, and I was just like, for the rest of my life, I didn't feel like I really needed to fucking prove anything or excel or do anything, because I've done this thing that everybody views as great. And, I don't know if I would have been as motivated. And so there's just like a lot of things like that in your life that in the short term, you look at them as being extreme negatives, or, something that you even view as positive, that, it's just hard to say until, it's kind of like run its course and you see what effects that has later on down the line.
We're going to end it with some deep shit, Dan Bilzerian. I knew I'd get some deep shit out of you. I knew it was in there, goddammit.